Good evening, you're watching Mondays Look North.
Tonight, the Yorkshire woman targeted by online abuse. A Barnsley mum becomes a target for trolls who say she's too fat for food banks after speaking out on BBC's Question Time.
I went on to actually raise a point about what's happening around us, and we just treat like peasants.
We'll hear the full story.
Also on the programme, Yorkshire becomes the first place in the country to trial new forensics to help detectives solve crimes more quickly. Terrific from the Terriers. Huddersfield hadn't scored away since August, but they got 4 against Watford. And it's the opening night of our Christmas show review, and we're stepping through the wardrobe drawers to Narnia.
A quiet week to come across Yorkshire, at risk of some fog later though. Join me for that week ahead forecast.
First tonight, a single mum from Barnsley says she's appalled after she was mocked online by a Conservative councillor when she spoke out about food banks on BBC Question Time.
Samantha Thompson was criticised by members of the public on Twitter and Facebook for being overweight, but she was even more dismayed when the elected representative for Stour in Ashford joined in. We'll speak to her in a moment, but first here's Carla Fowler.
Samantha Thompson describes herself as an ordinary mum. Whilst raising 3 children on her own in Barnsley, she worked, studied and eventually opened her own salon. But then she suffered a string of personal and business setbacks which led to a period of depression. She struggled to make ends meet and in the summer of 2016 was forced to use food banks. It was this crisis which led to her impassioned plea on last week's Question Time for the government to do more to help those in need.
I will come to you, yes. Yes, you?
Things are spiralling out of control. Millions of people are now going to food banks. Genuine families are struggling. I, for one of them, have struggled and I've had to go to a food bank with my 3 children.
Unhappy with responses from MP Nicky Morgan, Samantha's continued criticisms of the government drew support from the audience. So she was shocked when, after the programme had broadcast, a friend showed her Twitter comments insulting her appearance on the show, one of which came from Tory councillor Graham Galpin. His comments suggested food bank users are obese because they eat too many pizzas.
It's a nasty comment. I've taken real offence about that because I didn't go on Question Time to actually, attract a male. I went on to actually raise a point about what's happening around us.
Mr Galpin gave Look North a statement saying food banks are a safety net there as a last resort. He went on to say the comment wasn't targeted at any particular individual. If she feels it was, then I apologise unreservedly. But Samantha says she won't accept an apology which is so clearly insincere and hopes Councillor Galpin will contact her in person. Carla Fowler, BBC Look North, Barnsley.
Well, Samantha is here with us now. Samantha, we've just seen a sort of taste of what kind of abuse you've had. Just tell us what you've been hearing.
Just basic horrible comments about the way I look, being overweight. I'm not quite sure what people expect people in certain circumstances to look like. Did they expect me to walk around in rags with no shoes on, with bones sticking out? This happened to me last year, and I just wanted to make a point about how we would have actually gone hungry if it wasn't for the kind donations.
And it's quite upsetting, isn't it?
It's not very nice, no. And plus, most of the people that made the comments, they weren't exactly that good looking themselves or even slim, and it just distracts from the main point of what I was trying to talk about.
You probably saw in that piece that Councillor Galpin said it wasn't aimed at an individual. Do you think you should have been sort of a bit stronger about this and not be so sensitive? I don't know.
I don't think I'm being sensitive, to be fair. I think that somebody in a position of authority that actually is representing this government and is acting in an inappropriate manner.
Richard Thompson, the author of the original tweet, said about the domino effect. We gave him the opportunity to defend himself.
Yeah.
He said this, and I'd like to hear your response, if I may, for this. If you were offended, you should deal with your obesity, as he puts it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude about it, but that's the way he puts it. What's your response to that?
I just think, how dare you judge somebody that you don't know just by appearance. I said on Question Time I became ill. Now, this is happening, you know, around this country, that, you know, we are, in a blink of an eye, losing homes, having to go to food banks. What has my weight got anything to do with him? For all he knows, I could have had cancer, I could have been on steroids. It's nasty. There's absolutely no need for this. I personally wanted for people to come together. There seems to be a massive divide between working class people and people that have got money that think they can treat other human beings like that. It's just simply not on.
Well, Samantha, thank you very much indeed for coming on tonight. I think it's a brave thing for you to do.
I can just say I think you look great.
Oh, thank you, Amanda.
Next tonight, Yorkshire has become the first place in the country to trial cutting-edge techniques which speed up the process of identifying criminals through their fingerprints or DNA.
New digital technology means evidence can now be analysed in minutes rather than days. Officers say it's a huge breakthrough in policing. Lakshmi Gopal has been to see it in action.
This is the moment Zdenko Turtak was brought in by police in 2015 after his brutal rape of an 18-year-old in Leeds. Had it happened now, he'd have been caught and captured far more quickly, thanks to groundbreaking technology being trialled in Yorkshire.
And it all begins at the scene of the crime by capturing any traces such as DNA evidence, footprints or fingerprints.
So, my prints have left a useful clue for forensics at this mocked-up crime scene. They're dusted in the usual way, but whereas normally their impression would be taken physically and sent back for analysis, now my digit prints are going digital. Photos are taken on tablets and sent through a new specialist app developed by the Yorkshire Force. It means they reach the lab almost instantaneously. Police say the time saved means a more efficient use of resources and good news for victims, as it now takes hours rather than days to identify criminals.
I'll give you an example. On Friday, a young boy was run over in Leeds by a criminal trying to escape from the police. That criminal ran away from a vehicle, left his fingerprints and palm prints on the car, and within hours we had that individual's identity, and we're actively looking for him now.
Images of my prints from the scene are, within seconds, sent here for analysis.
The fingerprint experts have a look at those images, establish whether they are actually searchable on the national fingerprint searching system. Those results take about 6 minutes to come back, and then the expert will determine whether or not an identification is present.
While it can only catch culprits whose prints are already on the database, the system's being hailed as a breakthrough. And it's hoped the pilot in Yorkshire will be rolled out to forces across the country to help bring criminals more swiftly to justice. Lakshmi Gopal, BBC Look North, Wakefield.
Still on the way before 7 o'clock. Coming home for Christmas.
There are emotional reunions as Yorkshire Regiment soldiers head home on leave from a tour of duty in Kabul.
There are calls for a complete overhaul of business rates to prevent cities like York seeing more empty shops on their high streets. A revaluation of the payments earlier this year has seen some small firms facing rocketing bills and others being forced to close their doors.
And some councils are now being accused of failing to pass on the relief from a hardship fund set up by the government, as our business correspondent Danny Hewson reports.
Andy Shrimpton's city centre cycle shop has been a labour of love, transforming a rundown structure next to York Station into a thriving business. But despite its success, its days could be numbered. That's because a revaluation of business rates back in the spring resulted in a payment hike of 500%, sums that just don't add up.
Our original rateable value was £9,000 and now it's £54,000.
That is a huge hike. What does that do to your business?
Well, it will close the business. Simple as that. There's no way we can run this business with that kind of overhead. End of.
Revaluations are a regular occurrence and are supposed to make rates fairer, but many feel the system is drastically out of date. Premium high street locations pay more, while online distribution centres, usually out of town, pay less, even if they're making more money.
We just need a level playing field, that's what we need, so that every business, big and small, is paying the same into a central pot as a business tax. Business rates aren't fit for purpose, they're from a different era, from a Victorian era in fact. Let's have a modern tax that allows for the internet, and if you've got a busy website getting loads of hits, you should be paying more, because that's a high street in itself.
The government says it is working on ways to mitigate the impact of the rate changes, including giving councils hundreds of thousands of pounds in rate relief to distribute among those hardest hit. One issue has been the amount of time it's taken some councils, including here in York, to get that money where it's needed.
We've taken a bit longer than we wanted to on some of them, so what we've decided to do is automatically refund all eligible businesses, and that's businesses occupying premises of less than £200,000 rateable value. So within the next few weeks, all will get a refund of the difference between what they paid last year and what they will pay this year, as set by Government Valuation Office Agency.
But some fear that doesn't go far enough.
Unless business rates are addressed, we're going to see more and more businesses going online, people moving out of high value areas and therefore leaving places like York, which has already happened, and therefore relocating. That's going to have a massive impact on the city centre, but also jobs.
Rate relief should be with affected retailers in York before Christmas, a welcome stopgap, but far from a sustainable solution.
Well, Danny is with us now. Danny, it seems there are winners and losers in the system, aren't there?
Yes, absolutely. That's because the last time rates were set was before the financial crisis. So, of course, when they were taken again in 2015, a lot had changed. And some people have found that actually their rateable value has gone way down. So, of course, they are very much winners. But as we saw in that report, some people have had the opposite effect and they're really struggling.
And what has the government had to say?
Well, the government have said that they are looking at this issue. They're obviously providing this rateable relief, which is now going out to businesses. And they're also looking at other measures which down the line will help make the system much fairer for businesses.
Danny, thank you very much.
A man's died in a car crash after failing to stop for police near Bradford. The incident happened in the early hours of this morning and led to chaos on the morning commute.
Well, Ali Fortescue is in Bradford for us this evening. Ali, what exactly happened?
Yeah, well, this happened just before 3 o'clock this morning, about 2:45 this morning, when a car failed to stop for police in the Heaton area of Bradford. Now, police chase followed, which went on to the M606, and that's where a car drove into the barrier near where the M62 meets the M606 motorway. Now, as you say, one man has died, a man in his 30s. He was the driver of the car. He died at the scene, and we're told that his family have been told. Now, because a police car was involved in this, it has now been referred on to the Independent Police Complaints Commission, who will be investigating exactly what happened here. But as you can imagine, this caused severe traffic issues this morning. At one moment, both carriageways of the M606 were closed. But I've just spoken to Highways England, who say that in the last hour or so, the slip road that leads onto the westbound carriageway of the M62 has now reopened. So there have still been delays this evening, but the traffic should now be easing.
Ali, thank you very much indeed. A jury has heard how a transgender woman who was being held at a male prison died after being found hanged in her cell. 49-year-old Jenny Swift was being held on remand at Doncaster Prison, charged with attempted murder. Efforts to resuscitate her failed. The inquest into her death resumed today and is expected to last 4 days.
A 15-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of making a hoax bomb threat that led to the evacuation of a school in Sheffield. South Yorkshire Police were called to Burley Academy at 9:40 this morning. More than 1,000 pupils were told to leave the school as a precautionary measure while the site was searched.
Now, you might want to quickly check over your car insurance policy after hearing about this one. West Yorkshire Police say they seized a car at the weekend because the driver wasn't covered for commuting. The vehicle was pulled over on the M62 near Huddersfield on Saturday. Officers also found that the driver had an incorrect address on the policy.
Now, the war in Afghanistan finished 3 years ago, but some British troops are still serving in Kabul. For the past 4 months, it's been soldiers from Yorkshire in charge of the challenging and dangerous security and protection there.
This weekend, there were joyful reunions as they were returned safely to their families for Christmas. But they were replaced by hundreds more soldiers from the Yorkshire Regiment who will stay there until April. Olivia Richwell reports.
4 months is a long time when you're only 3. And this was the moment that Rosie Gilbert from Sheffield got her daddy back for Christmas. Corporal Adam Gilbert missed both of his children's birthdays while serving in Afghanistan. His mum's pleased he's home too.
Best Christmas present ever, yeah, I'm coming back. So, yeah, fantastic, family back together again.
It's been enjoyable, it's a good experience, it's something I've always wanted to do. I'm happy to be back off to see the family, first thing. Just get back to normal and enjoy Christmas.
The 2nd Battalion of the Yorkshire Regiment is based in Catterick. The light armoured unit uses the specialist Foxhound vehicles, which are rugged and safe. In Afghanistan, their duties include protecting and driving NATO allies and VIPs safely around the streets of Kabul. Work out there is unpredictable, and bomb attacks are still unfortunately commonplace.
There's always an element of danger with any deployment overseas, but it was extremely busy and all the soldiers in the company rose to the challenge, worked very hard for their 4 months and very grateful to be back in time for Christmas.
Soldiers returning this weekend had a debrief to help them adapt back to civilian life. But 200 of their colleagues, including these junior soldiers, will now take their place.
This is what I signed up in the army to do. I grew up looking at Afghanistan. I'm watching and that's what made me want to join, so yeah, very happy to go out.
It's my first tour, so I'm excited to go. Obviously it's hard saying bye to family and that, but I'm excited.
Hutchins, Colin, Turnbull.
There's also some experienced men. Corporal Chris Semmons from Scarborough is a veteran of 2 Afghanistan tours and has 5 children.
They understand that obviously it's not a nice place, but they've got full faith in their dad. Going over there to Afghanistan. I just like to say hi to my kids and hi to my wife Vicky and have a good Christmas and I'll see you when I get back. Love you.
They're heading out just as temperatures in Kabul start to plummet. By the time they return, it'll be spring. Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North, Catterick.
Of course, we wish them all a very safe and quick return. Right, a very good Christmas present for Huddersfield Town on Saturday, Dave. What a result.
Absolutely, Harry. Fantastic result for Huddersfield Town. I don't think too many people would have seen this one coming. Huddersfield Town hadn't won an away game or even scored an away goal since the first day of the season. But the Terriers travelled to Watford on Saturday and beat them by 4-1. Head coach David Wagner says his team are now halfway to Premier League survival.
From tinsel to turkey, the fans got into the Christmas spirit at Vicarage Road and the officials seemed in a generous mood too, awarding Huddersfield a goal despite Elias Kachunga appearing to be offside. Aaron Moy doubled the lead before Troy Deeney gave himself an extended Christmas break by getting sent off. Now watch Watford's Jose Holebas here. Awful clearance, he goes down and lets Laurent Dupoitre in to make it 3-0.
It's 3! And Huddersfield can celebrate.
Watford got 1 back and Jonathan Hogg was dismissed for 2 yellow cards, but Moy's penalty left the Town fans feeling festive as they headed back up to Yorkshire.
What makes me satisfied is that the players were able to transform the theory into the praxis on the grass. They've shown an unbelievable performance today. I'm so delighted for them and for our away supporters. It was a very exciting, very satisfying afternoon for us.
In the Championship, Leeds United moved to within a point of the playoff places by beating Norwich 1-0 thanks to Pontus Jansson's header. Samuel Saiz could have made it 2-0 but was inches away. Both Sheffield clubs lost while Barnsley drew 0-0 at Brentford. Bradford continued their push for promotion by beating Southend. Nicky Law crossed in and Dominic Polian's finish didn't need to be eye-catching, but his celebration certainly was. Southend equalised, but in the last minute Law broke through and was challenged unlawfully by Ryan Leonard. Charlie Wyke thumped home the penalty. Elsewhere, there were 1-1 draws for both Rotherham United and Doncaster Rovers, while Chesterfield's unbeaten run ended with defeat at Wycombe.
Sheffield's Dame Jessica Ennis-Hill was given the Lifetime Achievement Award at Sports Personality of the Year last night. She won heptathlon gold at the London 2012 Olympics and at 3 World Championships before retiring last year. Meanwhile, England's women's cricketers won the Team of the Year award after their World Cup triumph. Yorkshire's Catherine Brunt and Lauren Winfield were part of the winning team. Joe Root says losing the Ashes is the toughest moment of his career. England surrendered the series this morning as Australia stormed to a huge win and an unassailable lead of 3 matches to 0 with 2 left to play. They won the game by an innings and 41 runs. Root, who's from Sheffield, of course, is in his first Ashes series as captain.
It's bitterly disappointing. I think one of the most frustrating things is that we haven't been blown away. We've not been completely outplayed. We've put up some really good performances just for not long enough. Simple as that, really.
And Leeds boxer Nicola Adams has won her 3rd fight since turning professional. She stopped the Uruguayan veteran Soledad Machado in the 3rd round in Montreal on Saturday in a dominant display. She dedicated the win to her mother, who's suffering from breast cancer. Nicola now has her eye on a world title challenge next year. And who would bet against her?
Absolutely not. But I hope that we're going to do a bit better in the Ashes Day, because I'm disappointed in that, because we had a 3-hour rain delay and we had a glimmer of a real chance to hold on to that one and keep the Ashes alive.
You would have hoped a bit of good old British weather might have helped us, but sadly not. Let's hope we can win at least one of those.
I don't want to whitewash. I don't want,
no, never mind sport, it's Christmas we're all talking about now.
OK, all right, all right.
The big day is just a week away now, and Christmas pantos and shows are in full swing. Every day this week we'll be giving you just a little flavour of some of the best of them.
This year the West Yorkshire Playhouse is venturing into Narnia with its production of the C.S. Lewis classic The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Emma Glasby went along to watch.
It's a show that appears to have everything: magic, incredible stunts and, of course, a lion, a witch and a wardrobe. Not perhaps your typical Christmas tale, although Santa Claus does make an appearance. But this year's offering from the West Yorkshire Playhouse is certainly ambitious.
It's amazing. The show is a spectacle. It's almost like an arena feel in there. They've got amazing lights, puppetry, people flying. The costumes are out of this world. The music is gorgeous. It's just a real sort of full-out Christmas adventure.
They call this the most magical time of the year, and this show is packed full of magic. 4 children step through the wardrobe doors into the world of Narnia, where they come across a lovable lion and the not-so-lovable White Witch.
You've got a fabulous character to play, haven't you? She's wonderful. It's so much more fun playing evil people than it is playing nice people.
Horrors and ifrits, come you giants and werewolves.
There's that spectacular scene where you're rising above everyone. Yes, it's very unnerving when you first go up there, because you feel like you might fall out or fall forward, but you don't. It's magic.
The show does have a dark side. It's aimed at children from the age of 7, and they can get fully involved.
I am the true Queen of Narnia, and you are my subjects.
The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is on until the end of January. Emma Glasby, BBC Look North at the West Yorkshire Playhouse.
And from one theatrical masterpiece to another, this is quite possibly the oldest ever nativity cast in Yorkshire.
Yes, Newfield Lodge Care Home in Castleford put on their first Christmas nativity over the weekend. The show featured an 87-year-old wise man and a 98-year-old donkey aptly named Mary. A video of the care home has been seen on our Facebook by more than 2 million people. But this weekend's audience of fellow patients and staff was just a little bit smaller.
That's wonderful, is that? I love Gervais Finn's great nativity story. I don't know about you. He went in and a little lad came out and said, "It's off! Nativity's off! Mary's got nits."
Oh no, surely not. Well, I've had a very emotional week because I've had both my little girls in nativities this week. One was a star and one was an angel.
Okay.
And they both stole the show.
Lovely,
but then I'm going to say that, aren't I?
So what we need really is the magical word about a white Christmas?
No chance. We've got no chance.
No chance?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I can remember when me and you put 20 quid on a White Christmas at 9-1 and they actually paid out.
Yeah,
remember?
yeah,
I don't know whether that was
did,
insider dealing, but we enjoyed that one, didn't we? Let me show you a couple of pictures that came in the last 24 hours. That's magnificent, that sunrise that was taken across the steelworks there in Scunthorpe. And the second one is fabulous. There's a bit of stratus hugging the top of the Pennines there. There's still snow there. Fantastic sunset. If you want to see that again, it's on my Instagram feed at Paul the Weatherman, or you can tweet them to me at Hudson Weather. Or there's the Weather Watcher website, bbc.co.uk/Weather Watchers. Fairly quiet week to come this week. Next week, Christmas week, looks much more unsettled, potentially very windy, and there will be some rain around at times. But certainly in the short term, it's quiet, and we're concentrating our thoughts on fog, which may well develop, certainly across low-lying parts of South Yorkshire and to the North Midlands. The only weather front of any note this week will be on Wednesday, but no more than a band of cloud and a little drizzle, mainly in the west later on Wednesday. Now, we've got a fair amount of clear weather at the moment showing up on the satellite picture, and already temperatures are close to freezing point through the Vale of York and the Trent Valley. So before long, we'll see mist developing. There'll be some thick patches of fog in the Vale of York through the Trent Valley, low-lying parts of South Yorkshire, the North Midlands too. And with a bit of a westerly breeze, we may well see some hill fog, so watch out for that if you're making a journey across the Pennines later tonight. And there'll be some ice as an added hazard, a widespread slight frost, temperatures around -1 Celsius. That is 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So the sun rises in the morning at around about 8:18, your next high water time in Scarborough at 4:36, and in Bridlington just after 5 o'clock in the morning. So a bit of a murky start. Take care on the roads. There'll be ice, frost, there'll be some fog as well, and some of these fog patches, particularly through the Vale of York, may take some shifting. Eventually much of it will lift, with the exception of the hill fog that will affect certainly the Yorkshire Dales, perhaps parts of the West Yorkshire Pennines into the Peak District, where there might be a bit of drizzle. Elsewhere to the east of high ground, there should be some bright or sunny intervals, and we are looking at a generally dry picture. Top temperatures then around about normal for the second half of December. We're looking at highs of 8 Celsius. That's 46 Fahrenheit, just a light west or southwest wind. So it looks fairly quiet again into Tuesday night. Then there's that weak cold front to contend with on Wednesday that will bring thicker cloud, mist, drizzle and light rain to the Pennines. I think to the east of high ground it should be mostly dry and a little bit brighter. That cold front clears Wednesday night, and it should introduce clearer conditions Thursday and Friday, where it looks dry with some sunshine with a touch of frost at night. Highs of 8 or 9 degrees, and then certainly Christmas week turns much more unsettled. That's the forecast.
Thank you very much, Paul. That's it from us so far. I'm back at 10 o'clock. Do join us then, but you're off.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you to Paul for ruining all our Christmases there with no
The Grinch.
I've been wrong in the past, Eric.
You're a lovely guy.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.